Your record on doing so is abysmal, unlike your predecessor, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, who kept the lights on. Took the decision to restore their lost time to them. Several amendments were also made to the existing frameworks to provide further incentives to the industry. The NPP government could therefore not be accused of creating a hostile business climate and excessive political interference in the words of President Mahama. The NPP administration also added to crude oil production with the coming on stream of Jubilee Southeast in September 2023, which added 30,000 barrels of oil per day to production from the Jubilee field, thereby taking production from the field to 100,000 barrels of oil per day. Ladies and gentlemen, we are alarmed at the risk of these power challenges, reversing the economic turnaround in Ghana, as evidenced by the resurgent economic growth achieved last year. The dangers to economic growth are very visible for us to see. There is no reliable power supply now. Investors are being turned away by a government that is baselessly painting a bad picture of its own economy. And contractors are not being paid, despite the 68 billion Ghana cedis approved by Parliament for the government to spend in the first quarter of the year. And notwithstanding the significant amount of revenue at their disposal to meet these spending requirements, including, for example, the over 5 billion Ghana cedis buffer left for them, the 8.7 billion Ghana cedis collected by Ghana Revenue Authority for January 2025 alone, and about 67 billion Ghana cedis borrowed in less than 2 months. Many government projects have halted as a result, and the resultant job losses by young Ghanaians is very painful and unfortunate. Therefore, replacing them later with others, does not amount to job creation, have been condemned to suffering and hardship. Against Galamsey has been difficult, no doubt. President Mills struggled with it. President Mahama struggled with it in his first term. And despite the best of efforts, President Akufo-Addo also struggled with it. After having made so much propaganda about it, while in opposition, key NDC figures appearing before Parliament's Appointments Committee could not substantiate any of the propaganda allegations of the NPP being complicit in the Galamsey phenomenon. In contrast, media networks are now reporting that weeks after the election, known NDC kingpins in the Ashanti region have invaded some forests and commenced Galamsey activities there. Also in the Western region and the Eastern region. And Western North, all over. The president is quiet, is silent on all this. On the 19th day of January 2025 edition of the Ghanaian Daily Graphic, it was reported that illegal miners numbering about 60 breached the Anglo Gold Ashanti Mine security fence and intruded at Code D. The aim of the illegal miners was to enter the deep decline. The decision to enter the deep decline was because of a promise made to these illegal miners by the leadership of the NDC during the campaign. The promise was to assist them to illegally mine in areas which had been legally acquired by the Anglo Gold Company. Also, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, speaking to Parliament on February 19, 2025, raised a very disturbing issue of insecurity, leading to an alarming rate of illegal mining activities within the nation's forest reserves. 9 out of the 44 forest reserves have been completely taken by illegal mining thugs with impunity. Our security agents and the Forestry Commission no longer have access to these forest reserves. We wish to ask, since when thugs involved in illegal mining became more powerful than our well-trained security agents? This is the true state of the fight against Galamsey, for which reason the President's address was scanty on any real steps to tackle the canker. Infrastructure development. The President conveniently omitted from his address the strides made in the housing sector under the immediate past administration. This included the completion of some of the stalled projects inherited in 2017, like the Asokori Mampong housing project, resumption of works on the Adenta SHC estates, and the selection of the private partner to commence work on the completion of the Saglime project. Additionally, 1,000 homes were delivered to the security services, 1,000 homes delivered by the TDC, and nearly another 1,000 homes by the State Housing Company. The administration also set up the National Home Ownership Fund that has delivered about 500 homes so far. The President failed to mention that the Ministry of Finance under President Akufo-Addo gave approval to GIF to set up a GIF housing sub-fund to receive funding for bankable housing projects, while the Ministry of Housing rolled out a PPP framework to stimulate housing. These strides made in the housing sector marked an unprecedented change in the approach to resolving the housing deficit in Ghana. Instead of seeking to lambast the outgone administration, credit should rather be given to it, followed by a commitment to build on it. The Ghana Priority Health Infrastructure Project, referred to as Agenda 111, was to design, construct, and equip 111 hospitals across the country. The need for the construction of hospitals became essential after Ghana recorded its first case of COVID-19 on 12 March 2020. In one of his regular addresses to the nation, where he detailed the government's measures to contain the spread of the virus, His Excellency, President Akufo-Addo, bemoaned the lack of hospitals in some 88 districts and 6 newly created regions of the country, and promised swift government investment in new hospitals, not only to address the urgent need to contain the spread of the virus in those districts and regions, but also to correct the anomaly in the distribution of health infrastructure across the country. The initial hospitals comprise of 101 district hospitals, 7 regional hospitals, 2 regional psychiatric hospitals, and 1 national psychiatric hospital in Accra. The program was, however, revised to include 3 district hospitals, thus expanding to cover 114 sites. As at 31st December 2024, progress on completion of civil works were 37 sites achieved 70% completion and above, 28 sites achieved between 50 and 70% completion, and 36 sites achieved below 50% completion. These district hospitals, 3 district hospitals, and this is important because some people have gone out there to say only 1 was completed. 3 district hospitals achieved practical completion, equipped and commissioned on 5th December 2024. And they are Atrima Konwuma Municipal Hospital at Trede, Konwuma Municipal Hospital at Trede, the Oforikrom Municipal Hospital at Kokoben, and Ahanta West Municipal Hospital at Bokro. We also had dedicated sources of funding. Some have said that we were just doing it in an ad hoc manner. We had dedicated sources of funding from the government annual budgetary allocation and the CAPEX component of the annual budget funding amount from oil revenues. Total outstanding amount to complete all these district hospitals and the zonal psychiatric hospitals as at 31st December 2024 was $1.3 billion. In his haste to misinform the Ghanaian people, the president told a group of clergymen who visited him in his office that he needed $1.7 billion to complete the Agenda 111 projects. In his address to the nation last week, he put the amount at 22 billion Ghana cedis, and that is $1.4 billion at 15.5 cedis to $1. So, Mr. President, which is the correct amount? We have taken note of the new government's plan to abandon these projects by proposing to relaunch the ABFA from oil revenues used in financing these projects to other projects. This is unacceptable, Mr. President, and this certainly will lead to significant cost overruns, which will later come to hurt our country. The NDC has resorted to a deliberate distortion of road sector data as a way of undermining the work the NPP administration has done. When it is reported that between January 2017 and June 2024, the NPP successfully undertook works covering a total length of 13,624 kilometers, the NDC mischievously reports it as a claim of some 13,000 kilometers of brand new roads. We have always made it clear that this figure represents the total kilometers of roads we worked on, including construction of brand new, reconstruction of dilapidated roads, rehabilitation of bad roads, and upgrades of roads in poor condition. This is a major achievement when compared to the NDC's paltry 4,636 kilometers delivered by the Atta Mills and Mahama administration over the entire 8 years in office, covering the same scope of works. So we are talking about 13,624 kilometers versus 4,636 kilometers. And yet they say we criminally mismanaged the economy. Ladies and gentlemen, between 2019 and 2016, the Atta Mills and Mahama administration managed to complete only 5 interchanges. And I mean just 5 in 8 years. Contrast this with the 9 interchanges delivered under the akufo-addo Bawumia administration. Additionally, the NPP started works on at least 13 other interchanges. In fact, our performance in the road sector has been so impressive that the World Bank Country Director stated on 7th August 2024 that in terms of road density, kilometers of road per 100 square kilometer land, Ghana has road access that exceed the regional average. 32.8 kilometers per 100 square kilometers in Ghana versus 17 kilometers regional average in Africa. That is nearly double the regional average. Ghana is also above the regional average in terms of rural accessibility. In Ghana, 63% of the population lives within 2 kilometers of all weather routes, as compared to only 47% in the Africa region. We must celebrate our achievements, ladies and gentlemen, irrespective of who is doing it. We must celebrate our achievement, irrespective of who is doing it. If it is Nana Akufo-Addo who did it, let's celebrate. Yes. If Mahama did it, let's celebrate. But we must celebrate our achievements as a country. Ghanaians can judge for themselves when it comes to roads and infrastructure. The record is clear. Our vision, our delivery, and our impact far surpass anything our predecessors achieved. Education. And we have the education minister, former education minister here. Throughout the president's address, the president did well to explain to the nation his vision for education, his commitment to continue the implementation of free senior high school is commendable. We also commend him for his commitment to continue President Akufo-Addo's drive to boost the tertiary gross enrollment ratio. Besides this, however, the vision espoused by President Mahama is uninspiring, exposing a profound education best practice and knowledge gap. Clearly, the president's speech lacked coherence and did not articulate clearly the role of education in the transformation of Ghana. Many of the initiatives announced are already being implemented with a high degree of success under the previous regime. Consequently, a number of reforms have taken place across all levels of education in Ghana, including tackling the learning crisis in the early years of education through the implementation of differentiated learning approach. In the face of COVID-19, teachers and other education workers came together and saved our nation from what could have been catastrophic learning losses. By working together, our primary 2 literacy jumped from 2% in 2015 to 38% in 2022. To equip learners with 21st century skills at the secondary level, the Ministry of Education, under Akufo-Addo's administration, had a total overhaul of the country's secondary education curriculum with a focus on improving national values, promoting STEM education, and preparing learners for the field of work. To make sure that our students meet global standards and participate in the fast growth of digitalization, advancing STEM education for Ghana's transformation was a key focus in our government. Thus, 13 STEM schools have been built across the nation. These include Awoso STEM Senior High School, Huasi STEM High, East Legon STEM Academy, Pasimpe STEM SHS, Bosonchi STEM and Girls HSS, and so on. In addition to that, over 20 STEM centers have been built in existing schools across the country. Contrary to the assertion by the president that the Ghanaian education system is outmoded, we have rather enhanced our education system during the last few years. An education system that has introduced courses like biomedical sciences, engineering, aviation, manufacturing engineering, robotics, and so on. We have also built science and engineering labs across the country. This system of education cannot be described as outmoded. It cannot be described as outmoded. Robotics. As we speak, high school students are receiving tablets to facilitate technology integration to enhance teaching and learning under the Ghana Smart Schools project introduced to empower students on a global scale. Here we are talking about smart schools. That cannot be outmoded. Whilst His Excellency the President has outlined his vision for education and skills development, it is imperative to acknowledge the substantial progress made under the previous administration in transforming technical and vocational education and training in Ghana. In 2017, the TVET sector was uncoordinated, and some 17 ministries were engaged in some form of TVET regulation and delivery, and therefore made coordination across the landscape quite challenging, since each of the TVET institutions were taking direct instruction from their ministries and legislations. Almost all the workshops in the TVET institutions were filled with obsolete tools and equipment, and outdated curricula as well. The sector was not responsive to the needs of industry. The linkage between training providers and industry was very weak, which caused mismatches in the demand and supply. The akufo-addo-led government implemented bold reforms backed by significant investments to revamp TVET, ensuring it becomes a viable pathway for skills acquisition, entrepreneurship, and employment creation. Some of the key interventions and accomplishments in the sector include the establishment of the Commission for TVET and the Ghana TVET Service, introduction of free TVET into the free senior high school policy, leading to a massive jump in 3-year enrollment from 41,696 students in 2016 to over 172,473 students in 2024. Construction of 4 new TVET Centers of Excellence, rehabilitation and equipping of tertiary and pre-tertiary TVET institutions, implementation of competency-based training, establishment of sector skills bodies, among others. We have laid a very solid foundation for TVET transformation in Ghana. The focus should now be on consolidating these gains rather than presenting an inaccurate narrative that disregards these achievements. The future of TVET in Ghana depends on building upon those robust interventions to further enhance skills development and economic growth based on our proposed TVET policy that focuses on just transition, governance, access, quality, sustainable and efficient financing, research and innovation, competency-based training, and environmental sustainability. A little on the judiciary. The President complained about politicization of the judiciary and the need to make it independent. This is very unfortunate. This is a myth on their mind, their own minds, that they are pushing to the Ghanaian people to discredit the only institution that is not formed by political parties. The power to appoint lower court, district, and circuit court judges is in the Chief Justice, subject to the approval of the President under Article 148 of the 1992 Constitution. No political person has power to start the process. If the President doesn't approve, all he can say is no. What evidence then has the President got to portray that our judiciary has been politicized? Pursuant to Article 144 of the Constitution, superior court judges are not appointed by the President alone. His choices must be approved by the Judicial Council and by the Council of State. Any refusal by any of these bodies means the President's nominee will not become a judge or be promoted. By Article 153 of the Constitution, the Judicial Council is made up of 14 constituencies. The President contributes in the selection of the Attorney General and 4 non-lawyers to the Council. How is the President suggesting that these non-lawyers that he sends can politicize independent thinking of the remaining majority on the Council? Judges are professionals who must serve our democracy free of insinuation that intimidate them, as if they don't toe a political line, they will not be appointed to the next level. It is such utterances by politicians that can affect the ability of judges to serve the country independently. If that is what he wants to achieve, then it is unfortunate, really unfortunate. After all, he kept saying that his party will look through their ranks and encourage them to become judges to serve the interests of his party. Therefore, in our view, the president's statement about politicization of the judiciary is only an expression of his own agenda, which he kept touting before the elections, if we recall.
That's true.
Insecurity. Ghana has been ranked the second safest destination in Africa by Alteza Travel, a global tourism firm. According to their 2025 tourism report, Ghana boasts a remarkably low crime rate, surpassing even countries like Canada, Greece, and Australia in terms of safety. Under President Akufo-Addo, a deliberate policy and planning had been implemented to enhance Ghana's peace and security. The crime rate in the country, for instance, had reduced significantly following the increase in police visibility. The visibility has brought discipline on the roads and made communities safer. However, in a rather contrasting and worrying view, following the election of President Mahama in the 2024 general elections, several acts of lawlessness and violence have erupted in the country, leading to the arrest of over 100 people suspected to be supporters of the ruling party. And this is according to BBC report, December 11, 2024. Supporters of the newly elected president who won jobs have allegedly attacked some state institutions, looted property, and engaged in disturbances that have left some police and military personnel in jail. The president was silent about all this. How can you talk about the state of the nation without talking about the spate of violence and lawlessness that we are all witnesses to over the last 2 months? Ladies and gentlemen, I'll give you a few instances of this violence. At Ayanswano, angry youth set the Electoral Commission office ablaze. The standoff at the Ghana Gas headquarters, we all remember, where security forces fired warning shots to disperse a crowd of protesters belonging to the NDC. Imam Obi, hooded individual, parading through the streets on vehicles and motorbikes, disturbing everybody's peace. Nobody said anything to them.